Hello everyone, Dragothien here. Welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms video. Today we're going to be talking about the 7 most avoided primary commanders on the open field. When you see these commanders on the open field in front of you, you don't want to swarm them. You don't want to try and take them out as quickly as possible for a couple different reasons. One, obviously, major outgoing damage from counterattack and or AoE damage. 2, they just take too long to kill. Or 3, they could have significant defenses like skill damage, taken reductions, high defense, things like that. These are the commanders that you want to avoid targeting first when you're trying to swarm in a murder ball or a group fight situation. You want to leave these commanders for last, generally, because of those 3 reasons. Let's jump into it. That's right, at number 7, we've got Harald Sigurdsson. He is our Viking axe-throwing infantry commander. Reason he's on this list, he is a little squishy when it comes to his defense, especially if he's been hitting, so he will go down as a primary commander fairly fast. However, he's going to take some people along with him because of his 4th skill. When troops led by this commander are on the map and use their normal attack, which they'll always be doing, this commander has a 20% chance to cast their active skill and grant their troops immunity to all defense reductions for 3 seconds. That casts their primary skill Berserker, which upgrades when surrounded to 1500 damage factor. You'll see that proc off not only as an active skill, but also as a passive active, meaning once the active skill has been cast, there's another opportunity or 2 during that skill damage cycle to go ahead and proc Stamford Bridge, which will start throwing axes sideways. This could be devastating to not only you, but anybody around you attacking Harald. So this is why number 7, Harald is going to be a commander that you generally don't want to target first with a group of marches, because he will put out some significant damage in an AoE skill damage fashion. Now again, he's a little squishy, so you can get away with it a little bit, but you got to get him down quick, otherwise he will start throwing out significant AoE damage with those axes. At number 6, we've got Ramesses. Wouldn't normally think of Ramesses as something that you don't want to target on the open field, but hear me out on this. We talked about at the beginning, what can this commander do versus what can this commander be defensively, things like that. Well, obviously he's a high damage commander and he does single target damage, so he's not going to be throwing axes around like Harald does, but what he can do is reduce the skill damage he takes by 30% right off the bat if they only have archers, which Ramesses will always only have archers on the open field. So that's a 30% skill damage taken reduction, making it very difficult to burst Ramesses down. On top of that, the 4th skill giving a healing factor of 500, possibly a 10% chance on a normal attack, which does proc quite often, once, maybe twice per skill cycle. As you'll notice on this skill here, there is technically no cooldown. I'd imagine there is some kind of in-game cooldown, but I've seen this proc quite often on Ramesses in the open field. Combining this with the skill damage taken reduction and the defense bonus of 40% that he gets from this 4th skill makes Ramesses number 6 in my book. It's quite hard to take him down, and you'll get some significant damage on the back end, because usually Ramesses is with YSG or Ramesses is with Tamiris, which Tamiris has a 10% increase to counterattack damage, if you didn't know that, on the expertise. So generally with Ramesses, you're going to be trading evenly at best, unless you're full cav with really solid equipment, and especially if you're hitting with an Attila, that will definitely help, because the skill damage taken reduction doesn't really come into play there. But again, that's what number 6 is. We're going to have Ramesses at number 6, being 6th least targetable commander on the field. At number 5, we've got Saladin. Saladin's kind of in the same boat as Ramesses. We have his 3rd skill here, skill damage taken reduction of 30%. How about that? Same as Ramesses. This is permanent all the time, and a reduction of counterattack damage taken by 20%. Now, When you're attacking Saladin, you have a white number that's going into Saladin that will pop up above his head. That's a combination of your normal and counterattack damage number. That number will be reduced because of the second part of this skill. And obviously the red number going above Saladin's skill, or Saladin's head, whenever you cast a skill, is the skill damage taken reduction, and that's permanently on there. It's not a proc. It's always available. So with that being said, Saladin very tanky in that regard. You also have a defense bonus here of 20% that's always available, and a 5% march speed bonus, which doesn't seem like a lot, but makes Saladin very maneuverable on the field. To me, that makes Saladin number 5 on this list. Very, very tanky, very, very speedy. So you might be able to start targeting him, but he will tank what you're doing right off the bat. And if he starts to take too much damage, he's just going to leave. So attacking Saladin right off the bat is probably not your best bet. You want to go after more juicy targets like a YSG, Juan, like a Genghis, like an Edward, like all the juicy targets that are out there, right? We've got a priority target tracker. If you want to go check that out, it's a little bit outdated. I need to update it, but the information is still very, very good. So that is number 5, Saladin. Number 4, we have Alex. Now, Alex by himself isn't really generally super tanky other than the shield. He does have the defense buff when he is shielded as well, so 30% defense buff when shielded, 40% attack bonus when not shielded, which is the majority of the time. He does have an attack bonus on the third skill and march speed bonus, which does help, but it is still infantry. The second skill is only for the target that Alex has, not counterattackable targets, so that doesn't really apply here. And again, his main skill is only a shield. So why is he on this list and why is he so high? Well, if Alex primary is on the field, he's generally out there with Harald. And we talked about Harald at number 7. If he was a primary, how, you know, kind of destructive he is. Well, put Harald behind Alex and it's even worse, because not only do you have the counterattack damage from Harald on his expertise skill, but you also have Alex with his damage increase debuff that he does on a circular AoE target with his primary skill here. So if you read it, it says during the effect of this shield, up to 3 enemy troops in the circular area take 30% increased damage for 4 seconds. So that means every time Alex fires off his primary skill, 3 targets in the area get a 30% damage debuff. And if you're in that area swarming Alex, and it's Alex Harald, which is again in Season of Conquest, more often than not, 90% of the time, it's Alex Harald or Alex YSG. That is going to be devastating with the axes flying nonstop, on top of the active skills from Harald being actively activated, plus the passive active of Stamford Bridge being procced off when he's swarmed. Plus, on top of all that, this is infantry, so if you have archers, like all archers, it's not as bad, but it's still devastating to have the AoE axes with a 30% damage debuff from Alex on you, and having that defense debuff while shielded, and having the attack damages from not being shielded and from the third skill. It is quite devastating when that pair is on the field. I've done a commander pairing spotlight. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure you go check that out on why it's so strong. That is what makes Alex number 4. If you see Alex on the field as a primary, generally you're going to see a Harald behind it, and that's why it's going to be so devastating. At number 3, we have a gold key commander. How about that? Charles Martel. Now, why do we have Charles? 1, he's very tanky, just like Alex in the sense that he's got the shield. It's very, very strong. You also have, again, with his expertise, extra defense, extra health, also some march speed to boot. You also have his counterattack damage skill, which is 30%. And again, just like I mentioned with Alex, with Charles, generally you're going to see Charles with a Harald, a YSG, maybe a Sun Tzu if it's a lower spending or a newer player. But in Season of Conquest on the higher end, you're going to see Charles Harald out there. So if Charles is out there primary, it's even more devastating, because you also not only have the damage bonus that Charles does with the 30% here on the counterattack damage bonus, and the 30% damage bonus on the primary skill here. You don't have to worry about it being a chance like Alex with the 3 targets being hit by the AoE debuff. This is a 30% damage buff done. So this goes off, Harald fires his axes off, and if he's being hit by more than one target, the axes go everywhere. And then on top of that, with Stanford Bridge proccing off, you can see another flurry of axes get thrown off, and then another flurry of axes get thrown off. With that, in combination with the 30% counterattack damage bonus that he gets on his 4th skill, plus again with the expertise for Harald, another 20% counterattack damage increase. And also, if it's surrounded, there's an additional 2% per target with an upper limit of 10, so potentially another 20% counterattack damage bonus. That is very, very strong. I mean, we're talking big damage numbers on the white numbers, and again, we're talking big damage numbers on the red numbers to boot. If you're looking for an anti-swarm infantry pair, Charles and Harald is very, very strong, but you have to fire the skill off. That's why people tend to lean more towards Alex Harald, because Alex can fire off his nuke on his 2nd skill without having to fire his active skill off, meaning this could proc on turn 2 instead of having to wait for it to proc on turn 9 or turn 10 like with Charles. And again, Charles doesn't even have a nuke. He's got the bonus damage to the nuke, which is generally, again, a Harald, a YSG, a Sun Tzu, etc. So that's why Charles is number 3. Number 3 on the list of Gold Key Commander. Number 2, we've got Pakal. And again, same reason as Alex, same reason as Charles. He usually has Harald behind him. If he's on the open field, 99+% of the time, he's got Harald right behind him. And there's a reason for that. Pakal's skills synergize very well with Harald. That's why he is the premier meta infantry rally as of right now in Season of Conquest. If we look at his skills, the 4th skill, Holy Tree's Blessing, Pakal brings a lot of defensive things to the table. So if he's getting swarmed, he's reducing a lot of the damages that he's taking in from the swarming armies. There's a lot of counterattack damages happening as well, in conjunction with Harald being allowed to do his thing as well. That's why this is so devastating on the open field. Damage taken reduction of 10% flat, that's always active. Also, while on the map, whenever there's a surround situation happening, number of surrounded enemies times 5%. The number of surrounding enemies that can be factored has an upper limit of 6. This means that there could be a total of 40% all damage taken reduction. This is huge. 40% all damage taken reduction is massive. Number 4 by itself makes Pakal Harald number 2, hands down. But wait, there's more. Also, if Pakal fires his primary skill off, there is a small shield that does happen off of his primary skill, and also his expertise. Troops led by this commander deal 20% increased counterattack damage and take 5 less damage from all sources for 3 seconds after using an active skill. And again, this can be procced off when Stanford Bridge procs off as well, because that will proc Harald's active skill, which will then proc Pakal's expertise. That's why this works so damn well. Pakal number 2, hands down. You're seeing all these things synergize together. What could possibly be number 1? Well, let's jump into it. Yes, oh yes. Attila Primary is the most avoided march on the open field. This is always going to be Attila Takeda on the open field, or at least it should be. And there's a reason for that. It absolutely is devastating to anyone that touches it. If he is getting swarmed, you are causing yourself so much damage, even on the open field, especially if you're targeting a high-tech player with maximum T5 and really good gear. Even equipment like this, which is definitely not top-tier equipment, this does such devastating results. The reports that you'll get from getting swarmed by anybody, even a max tech player swarming this Attila, gets negative trades hands down. He has negative skill damage taken reduction. He's got counterattack damage bonuses out the wazoo. He's got normal attack damage bonuses out the wazoo. He's got defense bonuses out the wazoo. He's got attack bonuses out the wazoo. He's got everything. He's also, I don't know, immune to silence, which is kind of nice. When an enemy has less than 50% units remaining, normal attacks against it deal 20% increased damage. just switch your target to whatever's half health around you, and you'll have plenty of options, because if somebody's swarming you, they're just killing themselves. So just pick a target that's yellow and go after it. After leading battle, you can also increase your march speed by 50%, allowing you to get away. Once your health starts getting down, you can take just nothing but positive trades all the time. If I had to choose, and this is why I'm doing this video, if I had to choose between bringing one march out, Attila Takeda, or Prakal Harald to get my counterattack damage out there and to get free kills, basically, it's got to be Attila Takeda. Hands down, every single time. The damage is much better. On Attila Takeda, you have the ability to pull back much easier with being cav based, and also after leaving battle, getting a 50% march speed bonus for 3 seconds will get you away from whatever is hitting you every single time. Prakal Harald is super slow. So while you are able to do a lot of damage, like I just said from Prakal earlier, a lot of what Prakal brings to the table is very minor counterattack damage and a lot of tankiness, whereas Attila and Takeda are both fire when it comes to damage, and they both bring a lot of defense and tankiness to boot. This is your number one selection, hands down. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let me know if there's another one that you would like to add to the list. I have a couple in the back of my mind from they're just a pain in the butt to bring down, but they don't necessarily do a whole lot of damage. So Constantine comes to mind. He has that heal on his 4th skill. You could definitely kind of add him to the list as an honorable mention, number 8, if you wanted to. Commanders like that, Leonidas actually as a primary, kind of difficult to take down, and once you get towards the bottom of his health, he can actually have a little bit of a bite to him, especially if he is secondary, which again, this is a primary list, so just kind of take that for what it is. But Attila number 1. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers, have a good one, and take care.